Today I'm going to go through with you guys how to use your Comtractor. So you just got these, and there are 4 different types of things that we are going to make with these. And today I'm going to show you the first 2 of them, so we'll do half of them. You need to follow along with me on your handout here. Okay. At the top, so it says construction uses only 2 tools. You only need 2 things, and the first of which is the most important part, your Comtractor. Okay, if you have this and a pencil, and I would definitely use pencil, it's way easier to maneuver the Comtractor around with a pencil as opposed to a pen. If you have those 2 things, then you're good to go. Now, read the directions so we know what we're all doing. So the first type of construction, and I'm gonna draw a little line in my paper. The first construction that we're doing is these 3 here. You're doing the same method to do these 3. And then if you see we've got some angles down here, this is the second construction. So one's here, one's at the bottom. Those are the 2 things that we're doing today. That's your goal, to be able to make these 2 different constructions. Now, the directions say for 3, 4, and 5 to construct a segment that's congruent, so remember our symbol, that's congruent to this segment. Okay, and we're not measuring. So that means you're not using the ruler on your Comtractor to draw a segment that's exactly like this one. But that is what I'm trying to do. I am trying to make a segment exactly the same length as the one on each problem. But instead of using the ruler, I'm going to use this little brass circle here, and then all of these radius holes. That's what they're called, radius holes. So we're going to use the radius holes and the brass circle to copy this segment. Okay, we need to make our own picture. So I'm going to start by, off to the right here, just drawing some segment. And I'm going to make sure to draw it longer than the one that I'm trying to copy. Okay, so here's the left end point, which will correlate with this left end point. I just have to figure out where do I put the right end point on my segment that I'm making here. Okay, this one's pretty easy. So what you're going to do is, and I'm going to call this A and B, you're going to put this brass circle on A. Now, hold it down. Every time you move the Comtractor, you hold down on the brass circle. Okay, and that kind of makes it move pretty easy. But what I'm going to do now is move my Comtractor around to see which one of these numbered radius holes goes right over point B. And we should all have the same answer. So if I kind of move this around, it looks like 57 right here goes right over point B. So what I do is I'm holding it down with my finger on the brass circle, and through 57 I take my pencil and just make a little mark. Okay, so I can kind of see that, yeah, making that mark through 57, it hits right through point B. So the tricky part is that you have to remember which hole you used, and not all of them have numbers next to them, so be real careful. We used 57, so I'm going to come over here and put the brass circle on my endpoint A, and then find 57, and I'm going to make that exact same little mark. Okay, wherever my mark hit my segment, that's where I put point B. And you can just stop right there. You've copied it. Perfect. Okay, this segment, mine AB, should be the exact same length as the original AB. Okay, if you need to, and here's what I would do. I would pause the video right now and do 4 and 5 exactly like I just did that one. If you need to rewind to rewatch how I created that, go ahead and do that now as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move down though and do the second construction, the last one for the day, where it's the same idea, except instead of copying a segment, we're going to copy this angle over here off to the right. Now, you start the same way. You start by making a really long segment. Length doesn't matter as long as it's longer than the one I'm looking at. I'm going to put a little point on there. Okay, that's gonna be A, and I'm only labeling just so that way we're all clear on like what I'm talking about. You don't have to label yours. Okay, so that's gonna be A on my picture. It'll be the vertex of this angle. Now, I just have to figure out like where do I draw the other ray here? So that way it's the exact same angle as this one. This process is a little bit more complicated, so follow closely, and if I go too fast, pause, rewind, try to follow along. What I'm gonna do is bring the brass circle to the vertex A. I'm gonna hold it down with my finger there, and I'm gonna pick any of these radius holes. Now, for the sake of being able to like remember which one you used, I usually go with 30, 40, 50, one of these at the top, one that's numbered, because you have to remember which one you're using. So let's just all do it together. I'm gonna do 30. Okay, hold it down, put your pencil in that hole, and make like a big arc through 30. And make it big enough so that way it goes through both rays of your angle. Okay, slide your brass circle over to your point A, hold it down, and make the exact same arc at 30. Okay, now here's the part where people kind of forget what to do. Come back to the original picture. There's 2 points where my little arc hit the angle. So there's 1 point there, I'm gonna call that B, and 1 point up here, I'm gonna call that C. I have point B already, right here. I just need to figure out where on this little arc should C go, and then I'm done. So here's what you have to do. You have to measure between C and B on the original picture. And when you measure, you don't use the ruler, you use the brass circle and these holes. Okay, follow very closely. You put the brass circle on the original point B, hold it down, and then I need to figure out which one of these numbered holes matches up with point C. Okay, I'm glad that we picked what we did, because do you see how, okay, so I'm gonna move my hand and hold down where all the holes are. Do you see how you can move inside of this little part of the contractor? I'm gonna need to use that to find a hole that goes right over top of C. Okay, so if I'm looking 19, this hole right here on the inside goes over C. So I'm gonna like mark it just to make sure it went through. And that looks good. Okay, I'm gonna slide the brass circle to my picture over point B, and I'm gonna make a mark at 19. And I made it so that way it hit my original pencil mark. Where those two met, that's my point C. All I have to do from here, you guys, is connect from A to C, make a ray, use your straight edge, and I've got my angle. Okay, go ahead and stop the video. It's gonna stop on its own, but stop the video and do 7, 8, and 9. When you finished that, you can start working on the ones on the back, and this will be due tomorrow.